Truth Be Told Project.
In the last episode, we talked about vocational drift, that quiet shift from calling to grind, from God, I thank you for this opportunity to, I don't even know who I am without this job. We went into the way work can become a holy looking escape, a socially approved addiction. And here's the thing, vocational drift doesn't just affect your time, your calendar, your stress levels. It affects your body, the one you live in, the one you often ignore until it breaks. So today I want to talk about another area where drift shows up quietly for years, decades even, before it explodes into crisis. And that is the health drift. When stewardship of the body slowly slips into neglect. I'm not coming at this as a fitness influencer. For people who know me, know you can look at my appearance and tell that I'm not a fitness influencer. I have lost over 100 pounds, but you can still look at me and tell that I'm not a health or fitness influencer. I'm not here to hand you a meal plan or a gym routine. I want to talk to you as a brother in Christ about the body you've been given, the one you carry into every relationship, every assignment, every call from God, and how easy it is to live by default in that body instead of design. Let me paint a picture. You wake up in the morning already tired, not a little groggy, not I stayed up too late last night. I mean deep, bone level tired. You slam the alarm, scroll a bit, just to wake up your brain. You tell yourself, you'll pray later. You'll open your Bible later. Right now, you just need something easy. So you finally roll out of the bed. You're already behind. You grab something quick. Maybe it's nothing at all. Maybe it's a pastry, a donut, and an energy drink. And you're out the door. All day long, you're sitting, staring at screens, inhaling whatever's convenient, riding a cocktail of caffeine and stress. You tell yourself, I'll move my body later. I'll drink water later. I'll book that doctor's appointment later. I'll slow down later. Later becomes next month. Next month becomes after this busy season. That busy season becomes your whole life. By the time you get home, you're exhausted. You promised yourself you'll go for a walk, but the couch is closer. You promised yourself you'll cook, but delivery is faster. Your brain is fried. Your soul is numb. Your body is tense. So you sit, you scroll, you snack, you call it unwinding. You try not to think about how you feel. You go to bed late, you sleep shallow, you wake up tired, and one day you say, I don't understand. I'm praying, I'm reading, I'm trying to grow. Why do I always feel like this? That right there is health drift. And I know from personal experience what it feels like. What is health drift? Let's put some words around it. From a spiritual lens, here's how I describe it. Health drift is what happens when you quietly stop treating your body as something entrusted to you and start treating it as disposable, purely functional, or a dumping ground for stress and unprocessed emotions. It's not always dramatic. It looks like, I'll sleep later. This is just what adult life is. My body is not that important. God cares about my soul. One more night like this won't hurt. I don't have time to care for myself. And over time, exhaustion starts to feel normal. Brain fog feels normal. Aches and pains feel normal. Living on fumes feels normal. And then we go to the next stage, and this is where we start to spiritualize it. I'm just carrying my cross. I'm just busy for the kingdom. I'm making disciples. I'm doing what God is calling me to do. It is what it is. But quietly, the body, the temple, the instrument, the gift is being run into the ground. And here's the shift I want us to catch. We're not talking about chasing a certain look. I know in our culture, when we talk about, even in the American church, when we talk about how our body is a temple and, we need to take care of ourselves, we usually limit it to our physical appearance. Am I too fat? Am I too skinny? How many calories should I intake? Stuff like that. But your body is a lot more than your appearance. We're talking about stewardship of energy, capacity, longevity, the physical vessel that carries your calling, your relationships, and your worship. We have to ask ourselves, what does God think about our bodies? Before we go further, I want to level set one thing, because a lot of us grew up with one or two extremes. Either the body is everything, we idolize the body, or the body is nothing, it's ignored. But scripture gives us a different picture. The Bible teaches that your body is a temple, not a trash can. You've heard it before. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. That's not a verse to beat ourselves up with. It's an invitation. We have to be mindful that a temple is a sacred space. It's cared for, it's maintained, it's honored because of who dwells there. It's not a museum for perfection. It's not made for a fitness competition. It's not a billboard for our worth. It's sacred, not flawless. Your body is an instrument, not an enemy. Some of us treat our body like the enemy. My body betrayed me. My body isn't doing what it's supposed to do. I hate how I look. I'm too fat. I'm too dark. I'm too skinny. I'm too tall. I'm too light. I'm too pale. I hate how I feel. Others treat it like a machine. As long as it moves, we're good. I'll rest when it breaks. But your body is meant to be an instrument through which you love, serve, create, move, hug, help, worship. Your body is a partner in your calling, not an obstacle to it. We don't worship the body. We worship God with the body. Another thing is our bodies are finite. This one sounds obvious, but it matters. You only get one body in this life, and it has limits. It needs sleep, it needs food and water, it needs movement, and it needs recovery. One of the limitations that we have in this body is that it reacts to stress and trauma. Ignoring those limits don't make you more spiritual. It just makes you more worn down. This is one thing I want to do before we go further into the practical side. I want to zoom out and show you why this matters so much, because some of us think, okay, health drift is over here. It's over here. Spiritual life is over there. Mental health is somewhere else. Time management is another category, but that's not how God made you. You are not three separate people. You are one whole person. You are a soul, mind, and body. Your soul is the deepest you, what you love, trust, and worship. The mind is your thought life, your beliefs, your narratives, and your focus. The body is your physical nervous system. It's your embodied self. And all of that is being shaped in time. Let me give you a simple way to picture it. The body, soul, and mind. Your soul is like the aim of your life. Whatever you love most, trust most, rely on most, that's where your soul is facing. If your soul is clinging to, if I lose this job, I'm nothing, then your mind starts telling stories. I have to say yes to everything. I can't rest. If I slow down, I'll fall behind and be worthless, and your body feels it. Your chest tightens. You have shallow breathing. Your heart starts racing. You're always on the edge. Same thing in relationships. If your soul is clinging to, if I lose this person, I'm nothing. Your mind goes, they're pulling away. I must not be enough. I'll be abandoned. Your body has knots in your stomach. You have a little insomnia, tension every time your phone buzzes. Your soul clings, your mind narrates, your body carries the weight of all that story. Your body carries the weight of that story. Flip it. If your soul is anchored in God, is my refuge, my life is held in His hands, your mind learns to rehearse, I am loved, I am not alone. This hurts, but it doesn't define me. And your body over time can start to breathing in. Does it erase all tension? No, but the direction of your soul shapes the tone of your mind and the load on your body. Also, the body, mind, and soul works together the other way. If your body is constantly sleep deprived, over caffeinated, sedentary, which means you're sitting all the time, not really moving, undernourished, flooded with stress hormones, your mind will be foggier, more negative, more anxious, more easily overwhelmed, and your soul will feel far from God, numb in worship, easily discouraged. You can love Jesus and still feel like, I can't think straight. I can't pray. I can't focus. Sometimes it's not because you're a bad Christian. Sometimes your nervous system is just cooked. Your body is not separate from your spiritual life. It's the place where you experience it. Now, the mind is like the storyteller in the middle. Whatever narrative you rehearse, your body and your soul will live under it. If your mind says, I'm a failure, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm unlovable, I'm too far gone, your body will feel heavy, your soul will shrink, your energy will drop. If your mind says, I'm loved, I'm being sanctified, I'm not my worst moment, God is still working in me, your body may still feel tired. Your circumstances might not change overnight, but your inner world has a different climate. That's why renewing the mind isn't just a thought thing, it's a whole person thing. So, where does time fit in all of this? Now, add time around all of this. Time is the river everything flows through. It's what turns one rush night, one skipped meal, one anxious thought, one ignored body signal into a pattern. One night of bad sleep, okay. 10 years of it, mind foggy, reactive, and negative. The body is inflamed and worn down. The soul constantly struggling to feel God's nearness. One weekend of stress eating, okay. Decades of using food to numb, mind runs to snacks instead of prayer. Your body carries the load. Your soul rarely gets to process what's actually hurting. You're not just having random moments, you're being formed over time. You could say it like this: your soul aims your life, your mind tells the story about your life, your body carries the weight of that story. And time turns that story into the person you're becoming. That's why health drift is such a big deal. It's not just about how you feel today, it's about who you're becoming over years as mind, body, and soul keep talking while time keeps moving. And the good news, if drift happens one small choice at a time, design does too. You don't have to fix everything today. But if you, with God, shift even a few degrees in how you think, how you treat your body, where your soul is anchored, time will start compounding that too. Let's talk about the signs of a person being in health drift. Now, with the whole person picture in mind, let's get real practical. As I walk through these, just notice which ones resonate, not to shame you, because, this stuff applies to me too. I'm talking to myself while I'll talk to you. I just want you to come ride with me. We're on this journey together. You're not alone, and I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to encourage you as I encourage myself. I want to give language to where we are. The first sign that you're in a health drift is you have chronic exhaustion, and that chronic exhaustion is your normal. You're not just a little tired. You're always tired. You wake up tired. You get through the day tired. You crash tired. You can't remember the last time you felt clear-headed, rested, or energized. You might joke, I'm just always tired. But deep down, it scares you. You regularly ignore your body's signals. It's the second sign that you're in the health drift. Your body sends you messages. You have headaches. You have tight shoulders. Your heart races and palpitates. You have stomach or digestion issues. You have random pains. You have sleep problems. Health drift shows up when you have a pattern of pain but never follow up. You say, I'm going to go to the doctor to get this checked out, but you never get around to it. You push through dizziness, fatigue, and brain fog like they're just inconveniences and not signals. You treat your body like a car with a check engine light on. You don't pull over. You don't take it in to see what's going on and where the problem might be. You just keep on rolling. You just turn the music up and you just keep pushing. You keep driving. The third sign is food, drink, and screens are your main coping tools. When you're stressed, lonely, anxious, bored, or overwhelmed, you eat. Not because you're hungry, but because you're empty. You scroll, not because you want connection, but because you want escape. You drink, not to enjoy, but to dull and numb whatever pain it is that you haven't processed and faced with yours. You binge watch, not because you love the story, but because you don't want to sit with yours. Again, we're not talking about guilt for every snack or every show. We're talking about patterns. Where do you consistently run when you don't want to feel? Fourth sign of health drift is movement is rare or only about punishment. There are two extremes to this. You barely move at all. Everything is sedentary, which means you don't move much, you don't walk. Walking to the mailbox feels like a chore, or you only move when you're trying to punish, or fix your body. Exercise is a sentence, not a gift. You go all in for a week, hate every second, and then at the end of that week, you quit. Health drift is not just not working out. It's slowly losing the sense that your body was made to move. And that movement is part of how you honor God with it. Fifth sign of health drift is you feel shame when you think about your health. When the topic of health comes up, your shoulders drop, your inner critic gets loud, you hear old voices, you're lazy, you let yourself go. Nobody's going to want you like this. You don't have the discipline other people have. And sometimes, the truth be told, I have been the big person all my life. And in church, people will verbalize that you're fat. They will tell you maybe you're lazy or maybe you let yourself go, and it makes you feel worse. And sometimes you want to eat more, you want to dig in more, or you get hostile toward any discussions about health and fitness because you take them as personal attacks. We stop seeing health as stewardship. We start to see it as a verdict. If my body isn't where I think it should be, I must be a failure. So you either obsess and try to control everything, or you give up entirely and say, what's the point? Both are drift. Health drift isn't just about fast food, no sleep, too many notifications. There's usually a story underneath, and let's name some of those threads. We start over spiritualizing life while at the same time underlying the body. Some of us grew up hearing it's the spiritual that matters. This world is temporary. Your body doesn't matter. Your soul does. And you replay that story over and over again. So we unconsciously decided as long as my heart is right with God, as long as I'm studying and staying up late, serving God, posting about God, engaging with people about God, my body doesn't really matter. My soul matters. We unconsciously decided as long as my heart is right with God, my physical habits don't really matter. I'm not smoking drugs. I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm not doing all that stuff. I'm not having premarital sex, and I'm not committing adultery, and I'm not watching porn. My heart is right with God. My physical habits outside of that don't really matter. We never say it like that, but we live like it. And the result, we end up spiritually sincere, but physically wrecked. And we wonder why we can't focus in prayer. We're too tired to show up well for relationships. Our emotions feel out of control. Sometimes it's not a spiritual attack. Sometimes it's not the devil. Sometimes it's our body. It's just waving a white flag. So we have to be mindful about the stories we're telling ourselves. Are we over spiritualizing life and undervaluing the body? Another thing is the trauma, shame, and emotional pain. This is another underlying current sometimes behind health drift. For some of us, health drift is tied to hard stories. You experience abuse or trauma, and your body doesn't feel like a safe place to be. And so you would eat, you would starve yourself to make yourself unattractive to somewhat protect yourself. You receive cruel comments about your body, so you detach from it. Food became a comfort when people weren't. Overworking became a way to prove you're not lazy or worthless. In those cases, your body is not just a health subject. It's a pain archive. So you cope, you survive. And health drift becomes a way of saying, I don't have the capacity to deal with all this stuff that I'm getting. So let's just keep moving. No shame here, just honesty. Another underlying current for health drift is busyness and survival mode. Life happens. Kids, multiple jobs, caregiving, financial pressure, ministry overload. When you're in survival mode, you're not thinking, how do I optimize my sleep and hydration? You're thinking, what do I have to do to get through this day? Survival seasons are real. No condemnation for that. The issue is when temporary sacrifice turns into a lifestyle. Years go by and you never reevaluate. Survival becomes identity. Another underlying current for health drift is culture and comparison. We live in a culture that glorifies grind, worships image, sells quick fixes, and profits off of our insecurities. You're either bombarded with perfect bodies and routines and diet plans, and you can't live up to a whole. And you're told to do whatever you want, nothing matters, live your truth. So you ping pong between pressure and apathy, extremes and giving up. Health drift thrives in that double bind. And there are two extremes we could go when it comes to the stewardship of the body, and that is neglect and obsession. I want to name this clearly because Christians often pick one ditch and call it balance. Extreme number one is neglect. This is the I don't care posture. You eat whatever, whenever, without thought, and you justify it with, you read the Bible and they call Jesus a lover of sinners and a glutton, or a man who likes to eat a lot. You sleep when you crash, not when you're wise. You sleep only when, there's nothing left to do, or you could sleep too much. You never move your body unless you have to. You view your health as not spiritual enough to matter. You tell yourself, God loves me no matter what. So it doesn't really matter how I treat myself physically. This body is going to die anyway. And at the judgment, I'll be given a glorified body. That's for another episode entirely. God's love is unconditional. Yes. Your experience of life in this body, though, is heavily influenced by how you steward it. Neglect doesn't make you free, it makes you diminished. The second extreme is obsession. The other side says, my body is my worth, my size, my strength, my aesthetics, or the way I look. This is who I am. You count everything. You chase perfection. You're in the mirror. Your social media pages are filled with selfies, and you're chasing compliments about how you look. You're never satisfied. You chase perfection. You use stewardship language to mask anxiety and control. And you might look healthy on the outside, but inside you're just as enslaved to numbers, to mirrors, to compliments. Obsession doesn't make you a steward. It makes you a slave to an image. There's another way, and I call this health by design. We're going to go after something different. Not neglect, not obsession, but stewardship. Stewardship says, my body is not my God. My body is not my garbage. My body is a gift I get to care for with the help of God in the realities of my actual life. Let's talk about design versus default in health. Let's frame it like the series language. Default mode in health says, I'll sleep when I can. I'll eat whatever I can reach. Movement is optional. I'm too busy to care. I'm either off the rails or all or nothing. There is no middle. My body is just here to carry my brain around. As long as it starts in the morning, we're fine. Design mode in health says, I can't control everything about my health, but I will steward what I can. Small, consistent choices over time are more important than perfection for a week. My body is a temple and an instrument. Caring for it is part of my worship, and it's not separate from it. Design mode doesn't mean 5 a.m. workouts every day, green smoothies at all times. It doesn't mean that you can't have any sweets. It's not some impossible influencer standard. It means with the conditions of my real life, what's one step toward honoring God? With my sleep, my food, my movement, and my stress. A lot of believers get stuck here. We think if I focus on my health, I'm being self-centered. But let's flip that. A lot of believers get stuck here. We think if I focus on my health, I'm being self-centered. But let's flip that. When you get enough rest, fuel your body with wisdom, move in a way that helps you function, manage your stress with God, you're not just helping yourself, you're actually showing up more fully for your spouse, kids, friends, church, increasing your capacity to serve the long haul, reducing preventable issues that sideline you unnecessarily. It's not, I'm choosing me over them. It's, I'm allowing God to help me care for the vessel He's giving me or given me so I can love Him and others well. Stewardship is not selfishness, stewardship is worship. Let's get super practical now. I'm not going to give you 20 steps. Your brain probably doesn't have room for that. Instead, I want to give you some categories and invite you to consider one small next step in each. Think of it as shifting 1 degree at a time. There's a book by a man named James Clear called Atomic Habits. I got this concept from him. I'm borrowing it, but putting a slightly Christian spin on it. Rest and sleep, the foundation. You cannot eat or out exercise chronic sleep deprivation. You can't drink enough energy drinks for that. So here are the questions. What time am I actually going to bed most nights? How many hours of sleep am I realistically getting? What am I doing in the last 60 to 90 minutes before bed? Doom scrolling, deep, stressful conversations, watching intense shows. Potential small steps could be choosing a bedtime window and honoring it 3 nights a week, cutting off screens 30 minutes before bed and replacing with something calming, like some light reading, some prayer, and some stretching. Setting a simple pre-bed routine. Dim lights, drink a little water, no heavy snacks right before bed. Not perfection, just one step. The second is nourishment, how you fuel the temple. Again, we're not going full diet culture. We're talking about care. Here's the questions. Do I skip most meals, then binge later? Do I go whole days on caffeine and sugar? How often am I eating out of stress or boredom versus hunger? Here's some potential small steps. Add one nourishing thing to do each day. Not subtract something yet. A glass of water, a piece of fruit, a real meal instead of snacks all day. Aim for balanced enough, not perfect. Pay attention to how you feel after you eat. Is there energy? Do you crash? The goal, how can I feed this body in a way that supports my energy and focus for what God's called me to do? 3, movement. Treat your body like it was meant to move. Movement doesn't have to be a gym membership, intense workouts, punishing regimens. It can be walking, stretching, light strength work, dancing in the living room. Here's some questions to ask yourself. How many hours do I sit most days? When was the last time I moved my body in a way that felt good? Do I frame movement as punishment or as partnership? Here are some potential small steps you could do. A 10-minute walk a few times a week. Stretching in the morning or before bed. Setting a timer to stand and move every hour or so if you sit a lot. Movement, this is something I learned. I went from being a bus driver who sat down 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I transferred to the maintenance department, which requires lots of walking, lots of physical activity, lots of pushing, lots of lifting. And I noticed that movement helps my mood. It helps me de-stress. It helps me focus. It helps me sleep. And it makes me happy. It really makes me happy to be able to do it. If I'm feeling stressed or anxious about something and I go for a nice walk and have some nice music or sometimes no music at all, I feel a sense of peace and a sense of joy. And it helps me focus and I get great sleep at the end of the night. Now remember, these things don't add worth. Movement doesn't add worth. And you don't do it to earn worth, but to support life. Fourth, we need to be mindful about stress and inputs. We have to be mindful about what we're carrying and consuming. Your nervous system is not built for constant emergency. So here are some questions to ask yourself. How often am I in a hurry mode? How much of my day is spent consuming anxious, loud, negative content? Do I ever intentionally downshift my nervous system? Here's some potential small steps that you could take. 2 to 5 minutes of slow, deep breathing a few times a day. Replacing some doom scrolling on all the social media apps. And you replace that with a walk or sometimes just quiet, just nothing going on. No noise. Being mindful of the media that ramps you up versus what grounds you. Sometimes your body isn't broken, it's just constantly braced for impact. Here's our Live by Design Spotlight. For this episode's Live by Design Spotlight, I want to invite you into something I'll call the stewardship check. The goal, not to overhaul your whole life in a week, but to partner with God in 3 tiny adjustments. You can think of it as a 1-week experiment. We're going to pick one small step in rest, one small step in movement, one small step in nourishment. You can journal this out later, but I'll walk you through the framework now. Step 1, rest. What would 10% more rest look like? Ask yourself, if I were to increase my quality of life by just a little, what's one thing I could change? Here are some examples. Going to bed 30 minutes earlier, 3 nights this week. No phone in the bed. Use it across the room. 1 15-minute, no tasks, just breathe, break during the day. Write it like this. For the next 7 days, my rest stewardship is blank. Make it realistic, specific, and compassionate. Step 2, movement. What would 10 minutes of honoring my body look like? Ask, what's one simple, low barrier way I can move? Here are some examples. A 10-minute walk after lunch, light stretching when I wake up, walking while I listen to worship or a podcast, or any other kind of music that'll hype you up and motivate you. Right for the next 7 days, my movement stewardship step is blank. Again, we're not looking for perfection. No shame if you miss a day. We're practicing care, not chasing a grade. Step 3 is nourishment. What would one kindness to my body look like? Ask, what's one small thing I can add or adjust that would help my energy? Examples are, what's one small thing I can add or adjust that would help me gain a little more energy? Here are some examples. Drink a full glass of water first thing in the morning. Add one serving of something fresh, whether it's a fruit or vegetable, a day. Replace one on board snack with a moment to ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Right for the next 7 days, my nourishment stewardship is blank. You're not trying to become a new person in a week. You're trying to say, Lord, this body is yours. Help me honor you with how I treat it. At the end of the week, you can ask, how did I feel? What was hard? What helped? What might be worth continuing? Let's wrap the reflection portion with some design check-in questions to help you process where you are. You can come back and journal these later. When I think about my body, what's the first emotion I feel? Gratitude, shame, indifference, frustration, something else. What might that emotion be trying to tell me? Question number 2. Where have I treated my body more like a machine or a trash can than a temple or an instrument? Late nights, stress eating, zero movement, ignoring pain. In what ways have I used my food, drink, or screens to numb emotions I didn't want to feel? What's one emotion I've been avoiding? Question 4. Have I swung toward neglect or obsession in the area of health? What would something gentler and wiser look like instead? 5th question. What is one lie I believed about my body? It doesn't matter. It's too late. It's too far gone. I always feel this way. What might God be saying instead? Question number 6. If I view caring for my body as part of my worship, not a separate self-care project, what's one thing I'd do differently this week? Question number 7. Who could support me in this area so I don't try to do it alone? A spouse, a friend, counselor, mentor, someone I could walk with, talk with, or check in with. Remember, you don't steward your body to earn God's love. You steward your body because you are loved. For our words to live by in this episode on Health Drift, I want to lean into a verse that speaks to body and worship together. And it's a verse I'm sure you know if you've been a Christian for a while. And it's Romans 12:1. Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Here are a few thoughts. Offer your bodies. Not just your thoughts, your intentions, your songs, your bodies. This is your time, your energy, your physical presence. Then he says, as a living sacrifice, this is not a dead ritual. A life steadily offered day by day in how you sleep, eat, move, serve. Third, he says, holy and pleasing to God. Holy doesn't mean flawless. It means set apart. It means surrendered. It means given back to the one who made you. This is your true and proper worship, is the next thing he says in that verse. Worship is bigger than a playlist. It's bigger than a song. Worship is caring for what God has given you, including this body. Taking care of yourself can be an act of worship. So when you choose rest over mindless scrolling, choose to walk over another hour of numbing, choose a meal that fuels you instead of just fills a hole. You're not just being good. You're saying, Lord, this body is yours. Help me honor you with how I treat it. Those are your words to live by this week. As we close this episode of the Drift series, we talked about the numbing drift when escape becomes addiction, the vocational drift when the calling gets lost in the grind, and now the health drift when stewardship of the body quietly slips into neglect. For some of you, all three are stacked. You numb with screens at night. You can numb with alcohol. You can numb with drugs. You can numb with food. You can numb yourself with overwork during the day. Your body is paying the price, and you're not sure how to climb out. I want you to hear this. God is not standing over you with a clipboard grading your sleep, your diet, your steps. He's inviting you as a whole person, mind, body, and soul, to walk with him into a more sustainable, more intentional way of living in your own skin. Not out of shame, out of love. You don't have to fix everything this week. You do not have to become a different person overnight, but you can take one step from default toward design. Until then, I want you to remember your body is not the enemy. It's not your God. It's not a mistake. It's a gift. Care for it with God, not in your own strength. And as always, don't just live by default. Live by design. God's design. Peace.